Today I do have the immense pleasure to count with the presence of one of the great teachers of nowadays in the world, in the yogic world. Is no other than Robert Shankara Moses, who has the credit of devoting himself for more than 50 years to this field of the yogic knowledge. He's an expert in Indian philosophy, mostly in Advaita Vedanta, and he is a great practitioner, a great teacher of Hatha Yoga of different styles. At the same time, he is teaching great courses about pranayama, the science of pranayama, breathing from different perspectives and different texts. He has been, during 22 years, one of the main pillars in the International Sivananda Yoga Vedanta Center that Swami Vishnudevananda, his teacher, founded. Nowadays, he's a happily married man with 3 beautiful children and a wonderful wife that I do have the immense pleasure as well of knowing them. At the same time, not only that, he is the founder of that famous magazine, I think to remember, called Namarupa. And here we are today to talk about different topics. We'll try to speak or to know his vision according to his knowledge of Indian philosophy, Vedanta, different methods of yoga, Hatha Yoga, pranayama, Tantra Yoga, and so on and so forth. So Robert, it's an immense pleasure to see you here after so many years of not seeing us physically. But anyway, I do have you in mind very much because you had wonderful times in those times of the Shivananda Vedanta Yoga Center with Swami Vishnu, who so many times, by the way, he was here in Vigo with us, very many visits he paid to this city. So welcome.
Thanks, Madhana. Very happy to be here and see your smiling face.
Okay, lovely, lovely. So first of all, I'd like to know a little bit about your personal history. How was it that you started practicing yoga? How did you start yoga? Who moved you to come into this fascinating world?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was born in South Africa, Johannesburg. And then I went to architecture school, the university. And I enjoyed it very much. But by the 2nd or 3rd year, I began to think that there must be something else in life, just, than this study and get a job and make money and so on. So actually, I had a friend, very good friend, and he mentioned that religion is the way. Just like that, he said out of the blue. I don't know why he said it, but something struck me. So I started to get interested in what is religion, what is yoga. And by chance, I went to visit a Shivananda Yoga Center in Johannesburg, but I never knew what it was. But I walked in and I saw many books. And I just intuited I must read those books one day, and I walked out the place, finished like that.
How old were you by that time?
That time I was 20 years of age.
Okay, young, yes.
So then in our 4th year of study, generally we'll go to Europe to look at all the architectural masterpieces, Spain, England, France, Italy, etc. So my friend and I went, and we were trying to buy an old Volkswagen bus. We can travel around in the bus. So we bought the bus, and the person who sold us the bus gave me a book. And that book was called Practice of Yoga by Swami Shivananda. So small book, but meantime, I was waking up very early morning, 3, 4 o'clock. I couldn't sleep. I didn't know, why am I waking up? My friend was happily sleeping. I was awake. Then I read in the book, it said, wake up at 3 o'clock, sit and meditate. So I said, okay, I'll do that. Also, somehow I didn't want to eat any meat. My friend was eating meat. I was cook, and I said, I'm not eating. And the book said, don't eat meat. Also, I used to smoke, and the book said don't smoke. So I stopped.
You follow to the very letter the rules of the book.
Well, it was all written in the book. When you see something written in the book, you think, this must be correct because it's written down in the book. And anyway, it was happening to me like that. So we traveled around, and I would get up early, try to meditate. I couldn't sit still for more than 1 or 2 minutes. So the book said, you do these exercises, your body will become loose, then you can sit easily. So I'm trying to follow the book. We went to visit, my parents left South Africa to go live in Israel, so we went to visit them. Then I thought, why go back to South Africa? I'm finished. I don't want to go back. I want to do what's in this book, this yoga. So my friend went back. I tried to get to India, but South African passport, then you couldn't go to India. So my mother came to me one day. She cut a small little advert from the newspaper, English newspaper, Shivananda Yoga Center. I said, okay, I prefer to go to Himalaya and go and find some master in a cave, but this looks good, I'll go. So I went to that place, knocked on the door. Young man opened the door, took my hand, pulled me in. Instantly, I felt all my problems just vanish like that. I said, I'm home. Yeah. This was Swami Vishnu had made that center in the year before, 1971, when he flew the peace mission over the Suez Canal. So that young man, Shivadas, he became my yoga teacher. Still, we're friends to this day. Very nice man. So he said, I want to learn yoga. I said, but I have no money. He said, you clean the yoga mats and I'll teach you. So I started living there and practicing, and that's how I got into doing yoga. That was
This was where? This was in
Tel
England?
Aviv, Tel Aviv, Israel.
Oh, Tel Aviv. Okay.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv. Yeah. Yeah. And there start your yogic career from that moment onwards.
Yeah.
You met Swamiji?
Yeah. So what happened then, about a few months after that, Swamiji was coming to visit. He used to travel all the centers like Vigo and this plebba. So everyone was very excited. Swamiji's coming there. So he came one night. Plane was very late. Supposed to be a group of people to meet him. By the time the plane came, they all left. Maybe 10 people were left. He walked in the room. I was expecting like a kind of a saintly person, but he was very short, little bit fat, in brown coat and brown pants, and he was very energy, hubbub. And he walked up to me, he grabbed my hand, and at that moment I felt he knows everything about me, past, present, future, just the intuition. So he sat down to eat. I got a big shock because he started to eat with his hand and push the food in his mouth and take a jug of water and pour it down and all this. I thought this is very not good manners, you know. Anyway, from that moment, I thought I felt a connection. In fact, I felt nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. So I was in the yoga center. He made me teach the yoga classes and everything. So this was 1972 beginning. I came there in 1971, 1972. Then after a few years, he said, come to the yoga camp, Canada, take a teacher training course. So I came there. That's where I
Well,
met you. Yeah.
yeah. Lovely, lovely memories.
Yeah.
And yes, and you had the experience of two very important ways of living the yogic life. One of them is that of a Swami, of renunciate. The other one is the family father. So how was it to live like being a Swami? How was it to be like, looking for, searching for the deeper experience of life, just to, according to the yogic philosophy just to get, let's say, moksha, kaivalya, whatever you want to look at it. And being a Swami, it needs some self-determination, and at the same time, just to have the soul of a searcher for that truth. How was it your experience?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because traditionally, in the traditional way of Hindu life, you're supposed to have 4 stages. First is the brahmacharya student, then is grihastha, married life and working, and then is vanaprastha, retired life, go to the forest or somewhere quiet, meditate, and then sannyasa, to throw away everything, finished. So this is the traditional way of life. It makes a lot of sense. But some people have an urge when young for the last stage, sannyasa, throw everything away. So this happened to me, but I don't know why. Later on, somebody told me when in 1971, 1972, that Jupiter, I came under influence of planet Jupiter. This is a guru. Jupiter is guru. So right at that time, I met Swamiji, and also in me, I gave away everything. I only had 2 pairs of clothes, 1 pair of shoes. Of course, living in Israel, that was quite easy because the weather is nice and warm. But I didn't want anything. I didn't want anything. I just had the urge. What happened in Israel, I went through the desert for walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. You go, there's an olden day wadi, a riverbed, and there's an aqueduct Romans had built, water flowing. So I went there, and suddenly I came across a very small monastery. The monastery was, I think, a Russian Orthodox monk was living there. In the 12th century, these monks had made caves by digging in the side of the mountain. And he was living alone there. He was from Austria. And he said I could spend the night there. So I went to sleep. Then I had a strange experience. That experience, I understood that I'm nobody. There's no time, there's no space, there's nothing, there's only consciousness, there's only absolute being. So I had this experience very strong, but same time, for me, instantly after that, I got like a message. Message was, you are that absolute, but you still have to work out all your karma. And you have to clean everything up, all your karmas from past. You can't miss anything. Then you will be in this nobody, nothing, absolute space of consciousness. It was a strong experience. So after that, I went walking through the desert. Then I came back and start to, live in the center, continue living in that yoga center. But always I thought this thing, we are consciousness only. We are not Madhana, we are not Robert, we're not this one, we're not that one. There's no time, there's no past, there's no future. But we think we are in this body, and because of all the connections to this body, we have many, many karmas that we have to take good care of. So this is what I'm busy doing, trying to do. Yeah.
Okay, lovely, lovely, inspiring story. So let us say for a moment, the Indian thought, actually what it says, according to different scriptures, of course, there are so many ways of philosophies in India. It's like a big tree, so many branches, of course. But let's go back for a moment to the beginning of it. Let's say the Himalayas of the soul, as Swami Shivananda used to say when he spoke about the Upanishads. Okay, and there, being yourself a specialist in Advaita Vedanta, so we got here 3 main, let's say, scriptures, which come to be the Prastanatraya, okay, the Upanishads, we got the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. So these interpretations the different acharyas of masters do of these scriptures, take us to the different approaches, philosophical approaches in the well of Vedanta. Let's say we got Shankaracharya, we got Madhavacharya, Ramanujacharya, Ballabacharya, and so on and so forth. So many schools. So I think yourself, you favor Advaita Vedanta of Shankara. Could you explain, could you say a few words about what Vedanta is according to Shankaracharya about this monism, and what part do these scriptures play in this type of thought,
Yeah, very nice questions. So from my point of view, of course, I'm only experiencing what I'm experiencing. And then I've read what other people have experienced. And then I've met one or two people that seem to embody some of these teachings. So when I'm looking at all of this, I would like to just add one thing. Even though I like the philosophical view of Advaita Vedanta as really the main thing that I'm focused on. You see here, many gods are here right behind me. This is bhakti, devotion. And my daily practice consists of meditation, bhakti, devotion, and also, very importantly, a practice of Hatha Yoga, which I'd like to talk about a little bit as we're going down.
Yes.
Because even though I like the notion of Advaita Vedanta, it's elusive, because according to Shankaracharya and his teachings of Advaita Vedanta, or absolute non-dual consciousness, states quite categorically that there's no such thing as an individual entity. There's no such thing as a world as we're perceiving it. Even though it is here, we're perceiving it in a way that we think it is real and absolute. According to the Advaita Vedanta, it is only a mass of consciousness, and due to what Vedanta calls ahankar, or ego, we associate with the current temporary particular body-mind entity in which we think that we are that individual, and thus we miss the whole picture. So when I think I'm Robert, I think I woke up and then I ate and then I did some gardening and then I went to sleep and then I have a wife and then I have children and all these things. These are merely relationships with this particular body. But Vedanta says that is a kind of an illusion due to an inherent power, which we call Maya, for want of any better term whatsoever. Maya simply means that this whole thing is illusory. So it's just like a movie on a movie screen, and if you turn off the projector, nothing happens to the screen. That screen is the consciousness, and no matter what's playing on it, it does not change. So we have to think, what is this consciousness? Who is it? What is it? Where did it begin? Will it end? What happens? How come it appears to be going on? So the constant thinking of this is the practice of trying to cognize the reality of one's own self and not get involved in the drama of your everyday life. Very difficult to do. Because it's so difficult to do, because our mind is firmly convinced that I am somebody. It is so convinced. I think I'm sitting here talking to you and you're there listening to me. Yet we are really no difference between us whatsoever. So to try to get the mind to dwell constantly on that absolute state of being, we first need to make the body still and the mind still. This comes through Hatha Yoga, asana, pranayama, etc. So just to reiterate, Shankaracharya taught a particular type of Vedanta, which is absolute non-dual Vedanta, and all the other great philosophers you mentioned have different shades of understanding of that, slight little differences. And Shankaracharya's philosophical view is you are never, ever an individual entity. You are always absolutely that supreme, absolute bliss consciousness. What that is, I have no idea because, of course, I'm sitting here thinking I'm me talking to you.
Right.
But every now and then, if we think about it, we'll get a little glimpse, but then it's
Yes,
gone.
yes, yes. Of course, without entering in any debate or discussion about this, you know that nowadays neuroscience, they speak so much about consciousness, what consciousness is, what is it not, and such a big debate. And therefore, they do not take into consideration at all this type of philosophical thought we are going through right now. Now, so just to go a step further, yes, we know that the Upanishad mentioned these famous Mahavakyas, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvam Asi, and that could be the culmen, the peak of that experience. Now, let us come to this. Let's take another step just to go into the path of yoga. Let us go to the early times of yoga. When the sramanas, the tribes are there, the different sects, groups, they are in a sense away from the thought, the Vedic thought. And therefore, they are a type of outlaws, looking for something. What can you say about the early phases of yoga?
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting question because when we began our yogic studies, we studied with, let us say, Swami Vishnudevananda, who was a disciple of Swami Shivananda. And we were understood that somehow Swamiji intuited this from inside himself, much of it. But later on, I've come to understand that that maybe was partly true, but was probably more true was that he also picked up a lot of different practices from different yogis that were passing through the ashram, the Himalayas. He went to live a little bit by himself up in Uttarkashi, a lot of sadhus there. All of them know something, a little something, a little something, a little something. So my understanding is there is no text, there is no source, there is no absolute anything about what we're calling yoga. There's just different people at different historical times who heard something or intuited something that if you breathe like this and you do it for long enough, something will happen to you. What happens? Then they found if you breathe like this, something else will happen, then etc., etc. So they had some different experience, and then another yogi came walking down the road and said, if you go like this, you will slow down your heart, etc. So they were experimenting, just like you and I experimenting with various things, just like scientists experiment with all kind of stuff to make an airplane fly. It took a long time, many years. So this was all going on, and every now and then one particular person more or less mastered what they were doing, and they wrote down somehow or other with a nail or something, or they memorized by heart, and these became certain texts that they then passed down. One person's experience, not we can't say it was everybody's experience. So sometimes they wrote it down, and these became very famous texts like Hatha Pradipika or Garanda Samhita. That was about in the Middle Ages. So Middle Ages is an interesting time in India because also Muslim invasion was going on. So people were a little worried. What is going on here? We might get killed, so let us hide away and not teach, etc. Anyhow, these people, we can call them yogis. Some of them had got great powers. We call those not. There's some not yogis. They got different powers by doing these different practices. And when they had some charisma, some energy, some lived for a very long time, many hundreds of years even, then other people looked at them and saw, oh, this is very good. So all this was going on for thousands of years through in India. India's got some peculiarity that people like this kind of thing. It's going on. And then if you wanted to learn, you maybe went to live with one of those people. You learned something. But came the modern age, people didn't have time to go and spend 12 years, 20 years living in a cave or living in a hut somewhere. So somebody near to Mumbai, Bombay, he got a good idea. He said, I'll make a little, place. After work, people can come here for an hour and do these exercises. They're good for their health. That's a brief nutshell of a long history. So suddenly the modern yoga boom started in India long back with yoga classes for busy workday people.
Mhm.
And then because we've got so much literature and books and now internet and everything, people would write a book, and the very good ones like Iyengar, someone that became authoritative. Swami Vishnu, complete illustrated book of yoga. These became fixed. This is the way to do yoga. It was never like that. It
Okay.
wasn't like that before. It was people experimenting with their breath, experimenting with their body, getting some result, finding they're healthier, happier, calmer, etc. This is my idea.
Okay.
What
So,
happened?
okay. So if we situate ourselves more or less in the Middle Ages, as you mentioned before, there appears there Tantra, and Hatha Yoga, of course, is very much influenced by Tantra. Could you just say something about Tantra and what Hatha Yoga is? We know there are many texts, and nowadays, according to this famous Hatha Yoga project in the SOAS in England, they are
Yeah.
translating, different texts from Sanskrit into
Yeah.
English. So every day there are more texts you can look at. But according to the tradition, because I should have, or we should have in mind or take into consideration, like to differentiate for a while here, the traditional yoga and modern yoga. So what is yoga traditional one aiming at? What are they looking for? What type of, techniques are there, like asanas, like, pranayama, and so on and so forth. So I keep asking you then, what is prana? What is the esoteric, or occult body, and the different bodies that we are made of, and so on and so forth. I know it's a vast thing. Just for that, people come to you as you have all these courses online. Would it be a lovely moment for them to learn everything you had to say about that? But in a nutshell, right now, would it be, seems to me very interesting anyway.
Okay. Oh, very good questions. You got it. So one thing in India, we mentioned there's 4 stages: brahmachari, the student, householder, retiree, and renunciate. There's also 4 aims of life. These are very, very important, the 4 aims. This is that you should be happy in your life. You should enjoy your life. And that is called as karma, K-A-M-A, not karma, of course. If you enjoy too much, you will get some karma. But karma means enjoy your life. You're here in a body. Be healthy. Take care of yourself. Take care of your friends, families. Karma, enjoy. And then artha. Artha means wealth. But it doesn't mean money. It means you wealth, your health, you live nicely, you give to others and everything like this. This is very important. But you have to do these 2 according to Dharma. Dharma means the balance of the universe, the law, the universal law, like gravity and tides and planets circling. You must live your life. You must have karma and artha, but according to dharma, righteousness. And then, of course, we do that in the Western world as well. We like to be happy and we like to enjoy and get some money. We sometimes follow Dharma, but a little bit twisted. But in India, they have one more very important thing that is called moksha. The aim of human life, the aim of being in a body, the purpose you are here in aware is to attain moksha. Moksha means liberation, freedom. But different people have all different definitions of what is moksha. So let's just leave it as moksha, liberation. We won't go into all that. So these four aims of life are very important. And each stage in your life, you follow more or less a different aim. So the aim of yoga and Vedanta is to attain moksha. Advaita Vedanta says you don't need to attain it because you are already moksha. You are already free. You only think you are somebody subject to time and space. You're bound. As I said earlier, that's difficult to do because I think I'm me. So then we have yoga. Yoga is a method or technique, a science, a practical science, whereby you use your body, mind, and your senses in order to attain moksha. This is the purpose of yoga. But because it's so difficult, there grew another aspect where, particularly in the Puranic age, I mean a few thousand years ago, it developed the idea that consciousness appears in the dual plane of existence as devas, gods or goddesses. So in the tantric practice, largely evolved around tantra means a thing. This tra means to save. You use a thing to attain moksha, save you. One thing is your body, and another thing is a deva, God, or being of light. So we can use if we go just to Hatha Yoga simply means you are in a body. That body has two currents of energy, hot and cold. We can do certain postures and breathing exercises to try to bring that energy into one place and take it up through what we call chakras to have a other than worldly everyday experience, and eventually to attain moksha, liberation, freedom from the idea that you are that body. That is Hatha Yoga. Tantra is very similar, except you use an external object and you do some kind of worship or focusing your mind with the worship mantra, yantra, and things like that. So and this, of course, over time developed into very specific things, specific types of mantras for specific types of purposes, specific ways of doing the external worship. And then there's also the tantra where you can use your own body and maybe a partner's body to try to unite these two opposing energies, the ha and the ta, or the warm and the cold energies. So the Tantra, Hatha Yoga and Tantra Yoga are very, very similar. But they took different paths. The Hatha Yogis developed mainly pranayama and bandha and mudra. They said your body should be clean, healthy by doing kriya and asana. And then you can move that energy by using pranayama and bandha and mudra. That will take you towards meditation, dhyana. So this is the Hatha Yoga path. The Tantric Yoga said you can do the same thing by repeating mantra, by taking an object, worshipping the object in a specific way. And they made this very fantastic because I love it. It's very evolved and beautiful and artistic and harmonious and colorful and all kinds of things. So it captures your mind and leads you to that same place.
Right. So from this point of view, Hatha Yoga would be just trying to awaken a dormant spiritual energy in the body. So the being that you're an expert in awakening the famous Kundalini, Kundalini yoga, awakening of the Kundalini. And there are so many stories, so many different ways of looking at that, so much confusion sometimes. Can you mention something about this Kundalini rising?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm just to stick with it so far for, as you said, 50 years. So I'm sticking with it.
It's more than enough. 50 years.
Actually, when I first started, I had a couple of, as I mentioned, very strong experiences. And but that was when I first started. So I was very, very trying to be very pure diet, very, very strict, fasting once a week, practicing a number of times a day, not just, meditation twice a day, asana twice a day, not going out anywhere, not going to see anything external, concentrating on just studying one or two books, etc., and serving my family at that time, my parents, and I didn't have any wife and children. So everything was fixed, focused on what I'm trying to do, no distraction. Then the result came very quickly, but then I got distracted.
Again.
By all kind of different things, because my karma was not ready yet. I still had to work out that karma. Remember, I had that experience. So during that time, I experienced something. Maybe it is Kundalini. I don't know what it is, but I experienced a number of things. One is my body became very, very light. I was not holding myself up. I was just freely up. Then my perspiration was tasting and smelling like honey. Very nice, very beautiful.
That's
My feces came very small. Nothing, even if I ate a lot, everything digested very ferociously. And, meditation, I just sat and immediately everything quiet. If I was living in Israel, I hitchhike a ride to go to work in a car. I get in the car. After 1 or 2 minutes, the person says, "What are you doing? Why are you so peaceful?"
yeah.
Like, so that was happening to me. It was not like I was doing this. You understand? It happened.
Right.
And I'm amazed. What is going on with me? Why is like this? I had no interest in outside world at all.
Well, probably this type of experiences kept you going all the time, as you taste that type of experience, it really awakens your wish, your desire to go deeper sometimes. So when you now we come into pranayama, and the subtle body. When you come to the subtle body, of course, here in the West, we are used to the materialism. Everything is that we see, we touch, and so on and so forth. So this construction of the idea of the subtle body belongs to the Asian countries like India and many other countries. But I think to remember is the Taittiriya Upanishad that speaks about the 5 sheets, okay, koshas. So is it taken from the koshas? Is it taken from Sankhya and some parts of, of Prakriti? Where is it taken from? Or is it a construction actually in the moment of Tantra and Hatha Yoga, taken from different aspects or different sects, or, different texts?
Yeah. The first place we can see the very clear description of the sheets and the bodies is Samkhya Yoga. It's about 2 to 3,000 years ago. Samkhya was one of the Sat Darshana, the 6 darshan, the 6 ways of seeing. Samkhya is the oldest. And the other ones that we're interested in these days are yoga and Advaita Vedanta, or also known Uttaramamamsa. But the Samkhya, all these things are written very clearly. So the thing about Samkhya, it is merely a description of the known and unknown universe as perceived by an individual consciousness with no idea of God. There's no God in Samkhya. It is atheistic completely. In the Samkhya, they're saying that the human body has really three types of bodies. That's the external physical, we see it, and then the subtle body, which extends much further out and which doesn't die when the physical body dies, and then the causal body, which is like a seed body, which when it is containing, as it were, like the blueprint of all your karmas, your thoughts, etc., which when your physical body dies, will go along with the subtle body, and even the subtle body will change after some time. The causal body will remain to enter into another physical body in the future, in the so-called future. So these three bodies are very important, and they got divided into the 5 sheaths. Like the physical sheath is the physical body, and it's only food. That is all that it is. It comes from the food you eat. It comes from a sperm and an ovum. Mother and father meet, multiplies. As long as mother is eating, the food body will grow. As long as you eat, the food body will grow. Some people can do without eating, not me. And then and that food body is according to karma contained in the causal body from previous lifetimes. So at some point it's going to die. In the meantime, there's a subtle body. This is the much more important body, and this is the body that yoga and particularly pranayama works on, is your subtle body. The subtle body means all your thinking, thoughts, ideas, movement, prana, where the energy is moving, flowing. And when your physical body dies, the subtle body has another experience outside of a physical body. By the way, I had 1 or 2 experiences like this in this life, where I left my physical body and saw my physical body going about its business, whatever it was doing, but I was not in it. I was above it, watching what was going on. So this is the subtle body. Now, most of everything is in the subtle body. It's like a vast under the water, and what you see on the surface is just the physical body, little bit of ripples now and then, calm now and then, or big wave now and then, but everything underneath is difficult to contact. So and then your causal body, you experience a little bit now and then, mainly when you go to deep sleep. In deep sleep, you're not feeling your physical body, you're not having a dream, you're not having subtle experience, but you exist. Then you wake up. As soon as you wake up means you come to your physical body and you say, I am awake. This is actually what you should say is, now I've gone to sleep. But we say, I am awake. So anyhow, these 3 bodies and 5 sheaths are from the Samkhya philosophy. Every other philosophy has accepted this understanding of the, we call it like the limitation or the casing of the Atman, or the consciousness is not really encased in, but it is thinking that it is in these.
It's veiled.
Yeah,
We cannot see, it's veiled, yeah? Like the sun there, we cannot see, and the clouds prevent us from seeing it.
But we experience the warmth and everything. So just one more thing. So Ayurveda also accepts these bodies. So Ayurveda, Vedanta accepts it but negates them. And Samkhya, Tantra, Hatha Yoga, all accept this Samkhya philosophy.
So you have been practicing asanas. Let's come now to asanas and prana and pranayama. Tell me the importance of asana. We know as well that in the modern yoga, only in asana means, Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga means asana for the practitioners. And of course, we have all this, we got all the different styles of models of Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Vinyasa Flow, Ishta Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Iyengar Yoga, so on and so forth. You have multiply that, I am lost already by this time. So let us establish the difference between the yoga practice nowadays in modern times, that is in a sense medicalized as well, because we use yoga as a therapy at the same time, and the traditional yoga that were in these different texts, Geranda Sanhita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiva Sanhita, Hatha Vyasa Pada, so many there. So the asanas, what is the end? They talk about purification most of the time, to purify the body, to purify the mind, in order to use it as a method to awakening. I remember, by the way, before you answer me, being with Iyengar in India, I was asking here a few questions, you know. Iyengar was quite strict, quite strong, you know. I was asking him, Guruji, what is the difference between the physical yoga and mental yoga? Well, there's no difference at all, you know. He exploded like that, you know. I was in front of him asking him a few questions. Did you read the Yoga Sutras? Did you read the Hatha Yoga Pradipika? What did he say? What is the fourth chapter? Blah, blah, blah. He kept going like that, you know. I was trying to say that all yoga is a means to reach such and such a goal, right? So let us come for a moment to the asanas as you perceive them, and the pranayama. You are such a big expert. I am looking forward to taking the course you invite me to take, you know, with you and with Eddie. And you know, I am delighted. I am waiting for the moment just to practice with you all the different courses you offer there. So the importance of pranayama, the importance in the spiritual realm, and from the point of view of the well-being of the body-mind well-being, you know?
Yeah. Also, a great question. Very nicely put. I love your question.
I didn't sleep the whole night thinking about all the questions. Just joking. Thank you.
No, so when I very first start to do asana, I had a few experiences. The very first class I took, when I left that studio, I was walking down the street and my body felt like I was flying, actually. I was walking step by step. I felt like I was, you know, one step in the air and then another step. And then I caught a bus and I got on the bus and there was a thing to hold. And I just thought I can just bend that thing. So much prana was suddenly liberated. I didn't bend it, but I felt like I could. So the very first class, I felt something totally different happen in my body. So I got hooked, of course. This is very interesting. Then I found that the more I practiced, the looser I got, the stronger I felt, the healthier I felt. I like washing inside, doing kriyas, and everything felt like you shower outside, showered inside. So I thought this is all very nice, wonderful experience. So this went on, and then slowly my mind began, but maybe I can do one more asana. Maybe I can do this. And then I got like in competition with myself. And then I found there's so many people who can do so many asanas so well. I should just calm down and do what I can do just to keep that flowing freely. So I found this was very helpful for keeping my body healthy, but still, I did not understand what was really happening. One more thing I understood at that time is that there's a field of gravity everywhere in the universe. That field of gravity is pushing you down. When you put your body in a good relationship with that gravity, it lifts up, doesn't get pushed down. So I found that asanas were some geometrical positioning of maybe points in your body where if you put them in a particular relationship to the external gravity, you felt part of that and you felt healthier and more harmonious. So this became, then later on I learned that mostly asana is working with something we call today fascia or connective tissue. And that starts, when when the sperm and ovum are fertilized, your cells start to grow. You look like a little tube, like a tube. And there's a hole one side and a tube hole the other side. And there are three types of cells. The external we call the ectoderm. This goes to make up all your skin, hair, nervous system. The inner lining is the endoderm, goes to make up all the interior lining of all your organs, and particularly digestive. And what keeps them together is called the mesoderm. Mesoderm goes to make up the fascia, the bones and ligaments and tendons. So when you're in your mother's womb, you're very happy because no gravity, you're floating and everything's very fine. But as soon as you come out the womb, you got to stand up in gravity. Takes you about 7 years to learn to do that. You need to get food. Your mother's not giving you anymore, so you have to walk around. So this middle layer, which makes the muscles and bones and everything, is helping you to live in the world, in your body. You get information from your sense organs, your nervous system. You walk around, you find food, you eat it, and you process it to make your cells grow. Because the prime instinct of you as a human is to make more humans. Pass on your DNA. This is all we're doing. So, don't forget about karma. But in the meantime, asanas are working on that middle layer, the connective tissues, the muscles, the bones, and everything. But very, very important. Without the nervous system, none of this is going to happen. So yoga asanas are somehow very clever in connecting the nervous system to your movement and your living in life. So we're doing this happily because we asana. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika, only 16 asanas are mentioned. Lord Shiva is supposed to have taught 840,000 asanas. You can do as many as you like, and you don't have to do any, but what you need to do is keep your connective tissue moving, because if you don't, you stagnate, and that will be the end. So this is all asanas are doing. So this is why asanas become the yama niyama asana, the asana. Mainly it's to help you to sit still for long periods of time. When you sit still for long periods of time and you listen to your breath, your mind can slowly calm down and get focused on where it's at. They also help you maybe to live a little bit longer and healthier. Definitely they do that. They don't necessarily cure diseases. They might help in the cure of diseases. But so they're very, very good. I personally, there's same thing, Tai Chi, Qigong, all these things. So this is why I was doing asana and why I think the purpose. But then we need to go deeper into the nervous system, and this is where we do pranayama. So pranayama is helping you to tweak or change or do something with your nervous system. So once you've learned to sit still, you can then focus on your breath and use your breath in such ways to make the mind even calmer and stiller, slow down your heart rate, become quiet, all in order to be able to cognize the consciousness. So one thing, so I'm sorry I'm speaking on and on, but there's something I want to say too. So what happens with many modern asana systems is the people do it and they feel fantastic, and then they think this is what you have to do, this particular system. It's not. It's just for a particular person at a particular time. Everyone is completely different. You can move your body in so many different ways. So therefore, there are many, many different systems. Iyengar, Shivananda, Patabi Joyce, Ashtanga, blah, blah, etc. So many systems. And more recently, I came across another system, which I'm practicing now, which is really interesting. This goes by the name of Sukshma Vyayama. The Sukshma means the subtle, Vyayama means the movements.
And it's from Dhirendra Brahmachari?
Yeah, Dhirendra Brahmachari's system. So he passed this on to a Swiss-German man named Reinhard Gammenthaler. Practicing now, he's still teaching, and he's very interesting. So this system mainly utilizes very simple movements, but always with the breath, and different to most of the yoga that uses the breath always, this is using holding the breath while you're doing simple movements, not breathing. So you might hold your breath and just do something simple. So when I started doing this, I found a lot of changes. I thought I knew what was yoga. Then suddenly everything changed like this.
Well, you had experiences with that method.
Yeah.
Okay, good, great.
So by doing all these different things, particularly, over time, I've understood that the main effect of asana and pranayama is on the nervous system and the endocrine system. It has a big effect on muscle, bones, etc., and digestion, blood movement, etc. But the main thing is how is it affecting your nervous system? And the nervous system is, as you say, you've been studying with some neuroscientists, etc. It is a fantastic system that it has its own intelligence, but we need to do something to allow it to manifest that intelligence. It's like AI.
So, you're explaining very well indeed how it's affecting the nervous system, all these type of pranayamas, but which you consider are the best ones to practice, because I nowadays so many doctors themselves teach different methods of breathing, and even in medicine, in medical care, the different types of breaths are used in order to regain health or just to keep it. So it means that we know that we can go for a moment a short excursion to Patanjali when he says yoga chitta vritti nirodha, and in the Hatha Yoga is prana chitta vritti nirodha. In other words, how the prana, how the breath affects the body-mind mechanisms. What is your your idea about this type of teaching you have with the different methods of pranayama as far as the health is concerned?
Yeah, so really it all depends on the individual, because every individual is different. Everybody is different. So for myself, I can understand that I found in my life, suddenly something has appeared to me, like Swami Shivananda. Somebody gave me the book of Swami Shivananda. I didn't know who was Swami Shivananda. I had no idea anything at all. And somebody gave me the book. As soon as I got that book, I got sucked into everything. So we see constantly coming to us information from somewhere. For you individually, what's good for me is not good for you, or maybe not good for you, not good for the other person.
Right.
So we have to discover, so then we should get some guidance in the basics, like the basics of just human respiration. For example, there's such a crazy idea which we've been given from school and teaching in school, that we need to breathe in order to get oxygen, which is true, but that's not why we breathe. The reason why we breathe is because carbon dioxide is building up in our body. That makes us get oxygen to balance the pH of the blood. So we think we need more oxygen, so we start going to get more oxygen, but that's not helping. Actually, that's getting rid of too much carbon dioxide. So we need to learn some of the basics. How do you use your diaphragm, intercostal, sternum to breathe? That's the same for every human being because their bodies are made like that. 90%. Some might be a little different. If you watch a baby, it's breathing properly. But as soon as the mother picks up the baby and she's not breathing properly, she's baby thinks, okay, I must do what the mother is doing. The subconscious goes like that. If you look at your cat or wild animal, breathing very slow, very quiet, very relaxed, going on. So we need to learn to breathe the way nature is making us as human beings, vertical animals standing upright, should breathe. But then maybe you need faster breathing, you need more left nostril, you need more right nostril, you need alternate, you need etc., etc. So many different methods are there. Look like Wim Hof, he's doing so many almost miracles. He can, they put pathogens in his body and he was able to be healthy, etc. He goes up in the Mount Everest just in his pair of shorts but that is him.
Right.
It's not me. I need something different. So little by little, we learn the basic, like learning the scales of music, a certain scale. Then you start applying it to your own particular need. That's why there's so many different types of breathing methods. So many different.
And so many courses nowadays about pranayama all over. It seems to me that it's going to save your life. It's like the same thing like mindfulness, It reminds me of the TM of the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. It's going to save the whole world.
Yeah.
So, my God, some time passed by already. It goes so quick. You make it so quick that the time doesn't exist here for me. Sorry, a couple of thoughts that came to my mind. More, they come to me more anecdotes than any other thing. I remember when I went with you to India, different parts of India. And it reminds me of Shankaracharya when we went to Kaladi, his birthplace, and we bathed in that river where the story goes like, the legend goes like the crocodile took one of his legs. And another thing, I don't know if you remember this or not, I remember Swami Vishnudevananda speaking about when he was in Rishikesh, Master, in other words, Swami Shivananda, touched him, and all the previous impressions of his knowledge of Hatha Yoga came to his mind. I don't know if you remember this word. Is that so?
Yes. That's what he said. Yeah.
That's what he said. Yeah, that's what he said. Anyway, now, as we are coming to an end, usually I do ask my hosts, in this case, my invited guest, to say or to tell a story. And then we end with a meditation, guided meditation, in order for people who have been or who will be watching this video, I am sure their life is going to be enriched by your wise words and the practices you encourage people to do. Will be a lovely way of ending up this conversation, So if any story comes to your mind, I know you have plenty of them. If any one of them comes to your mind, please feel free just to shed some light upon us through that story and invent. You are so kind to, just to guide any type of meditation you feel like it.
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioning a story, because one thing when we're looking around us, we like to look for synchronicity in things. And this tells us we're on the right path or It is true, subtle body is extending out. So, you know, I have a good friend, Eddie. We're doing the courses together. And one thing, Eddie, he's made now, he rebirthed the Broome Street Temple. So it's a very nice temple. And some Swami from India is coming there shortly to give a satsang. So that Swami is the next Swami, head of Ananda Ashram, where we went, Kanyangarh, where Mother Krishnabai was.
It was there, yeah, very nice.
And so Eddie told me the Swamiji is coming there. Then in a few days, you sent me the picture of me sitting with that Swami Satchidananda. So it was very nice to receive that picture. At the same time, I could send to Eddie and say, the Swamiji is coming, his Swamiji is here. I'm sitting with him in that time.
Like so that's Swami Satchidananda.
Yeah, Swami Satchidananda.
That, because lovely. Yeah,
So one thing you see, all these gods over here, right in the middle here, we cannot see it, very small, is a small salagrama. That's salagrama was given to me. That's like a little fossil by Swami Ramachandrananda. He got it from a sadhu. That sadhu said, give it to that Western Swami. I didn't know why. That Swami Ramachandrananda said, I have to give this to you, but we must choose one day to give you initiation in worshipping that salagrama, because this is Hanumanji, and we choose the right day, you'll always be worshipping Hanumanji. If you choose the wrong day, you'll stop. So we chose a day, and he initiated me in that puja. Then it grew to all of this. It was small little stone. Now everything is there, still going on daily. People can join on Instagram if they like. Early morning here, 6 o'clock, we do puja. But when I got that salagram, I was very proud. And I went to Ananda Ashram, and I had it in a little silver container. Still it is here, same container. I was feeling, I got this from a sadhu, the sadhu, and then the Swami initiated me, and this is Hanuman, etc. Then Mother Krishnabai, we went for her darshan, and she was sitting in the bed, because last 10 years of her life, she was sitting only in a bed. And a very peaceful, in this room, maybe 20 people at the most, sitting there quietly meditating. Then I want to show Mother Krishnabai, see what I got, will you bless the salagram? So I look, and she didn't speak English, but she said to one person translating, she said, why do you need that? You just focus on consciousness, Advaita. You don't need such a thing. So I felt very bad. This is not good. So I took the little thing and I put it on the floor. Immediately I put it on the floor, she said, put it up. And she prostrated to it like this. so then I got such a good lesson from my ego and the pride and everything like this. But also I understood that you need to do all of these things. You need a little bhakti, you need a little meditation, you need a little Vedanta, you need a little Hatha Yoga, pranayama. Like Swami Shivananda said, don't negate anything, because in modern world it's very difficult to keep your mind fixed on consciousness. Do everything little and everything will be okay.
Like the teachings in the Bhagavad Gita that of course we couldn't touch because you don't have so much time, because so many things missing there. So what about this meditation? Whatever you feel like it. Just
okay, what we get? 5 minutes or
yeah, short one, and then people can keep meditating on their own as long as they want to.
So all we do is we sit nice and comfortably. You can sit cross-legged, good. And keep your hands on your lap or your knees. Keep your back nice and straight. A very important thing, keep the mouth gently closed and let the tongue rest up on the upper surface of your mouth. And then make your breath very quiet. So watch your breath when you inhale through your nose and just let it go, exhaling. So now you're sitting still, back straight, ears above the shoulders, chin very slightly down, not much. So you feel free in the middle of your body, and listen and quieten the breath. Just go through your body quietly from the feet up to the top of your head. Whenever you exhale, let any tension you see anywhere go from your body. Your eyes can be gently closed or very slightly open. As you're listening to your breath, watch it as an observer. So when you inhale, you expand a little bit. And as you exhale, you just let go any physical or mental tension. When your mind drifts a little bit, just gently guide it back to listen to your breath. And try to have the sense or feeling that you are timeless, spaceless, awareness, as you inhale, ask yourself, who am I? At the end of the inhale, pause for a moment and affirm, I am consciousness. And then exhale and repeat mentally, I am not this body and mind. You inhale, who am I? Wait and repeat, I am absolute consciousness. And let go the breath. I am not this body and mind. bring your thumbs together against your heart center, palms gently touch together. And we'll repeat an Om with 3 sounds, A, U, Ma, A from your navel center, U in your heart center, and from the third eye up out the top of your skull. Asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityo ma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Tat Sat. Thanks.
My deepest gratitude for these lovely moments. And I am sure that this talk will inspire all those people who are going to watch it and show you, as I mentioned, my gratitude. And it's a real privilege to see you again after so many years, of lovely friendship we are having with each other. So I wish you all the best and thanks a lot again. Om, om, om.
Thanks, Madhana. Thanks for asking me. Such a pleasure talking to you. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.